registration desk. That was easy.
It's a thrill to be here. I want to officially welcome you to the 30th anniversary celebration of the International Car Rental Show. I'm the chairman of ICRS, and I'm also the Auto Rental News Mangling editor, and I will be your host tonight. So looking out at all of you, I'm thankful that I take it it's a high rent, low maintenance crowd, because that defines a good rental car, and you certainly don't want to be the opposite of that. That would cause all kinds of problems. We appreciate so many of you joining us, especially those of you from the past 3 decades. This is a milestone occasion. When a business conference and trade show lasts 30 years, it's kind of a big deal, even if it might make some of you feel crusty. So let me first address the elephant in the room. My colleague Jenny Owens, as some of you might know, she unfortunately could not be here tonight because she suffered an injury. The good news is it did not involve a rental car. She was simply doing something that people in their upper 50s might not want to be doing anymore. So we'll leave it to your imagination. So first up, I'd like to call some of you out with 3 very basic questions, and they're right here on my discounted teleprompter, which was part of the package deal for the phone chicken, just in case you're wondering. So the first question is, how many of you here tonight attended the very first ICRS event in 1996 at the Mirage in Las Vegas? Would you please stand up? Okay. We're going to hear from one of the founders of ICRS in a few minutes. Now for a second related question. How many of you first attended this event maybe 20-something years ago, 22, 24, 26 years ago? The 20-something club. Stand up.
I'll stand up. Who else is in this club? I see you, Ken. I see you.
So for those of you who are 20-somethings and 30-somethings, we're going to gather up for a photo at the end of the evening and just get a group picture. This will be the class of 30. Now for the last question, how many of you here were not even born in 1996? And you're working. Stand up.
Stand up.
Well, let me tell you, it was a wonderful time not to have been born. There was that old Bob Dole campaign and the Tupac thing, and all that was happening in 1996. So it's refreshing to see so many under 30. It means the industry has a chance for a future, and it's a reminder that we should be recruiting younger workers as much as possible. And for those of you who are still of a certain age, there are also fertile alternatives to bringing more people into the industry. So something to consider. Full disclosure, this is only my third year at ICRS, so I really cannot participate in a lot of the war stories or the anecdotes or the shenanigans, but this is actually a very special year for me. I mean, it was 30 years ago that I graduated from preschool. And I tell you, the time has just flown, and 3 decades later, you're staring at middle age. So with those timelines established, we have an engaging lineup of speakers to commemorate this event, and it will all build to our entertainment with comedian Eric Hunter. Now, I'm not one to gossip, but I heard a rumor that Eric the comedian, he has some kind of a rental car fetish, so just be prepared, just get ready, don't get offended. So speaking of newcomers, our first speaker tonight is someone attending his very first car rental show. And it's about time that he got up here because he owns this event. Please give a debut welcome to Bobbitt Business Media CEO and owner, Colin Soto.
Thank you for that warm welcome. No, for those of you that know me, this is my first ICRS. It's not my first exposure to the car rental industry. I was one of the founders of Geotech, so I've been 25 years in telematics and vehicles and trying to deal with things in this environment. Reflecting on some times back in, it had to be 13, 14 years ago, in St. Louis with Enterprise. And we said, we're going to remotely open that car right there with this mobile app on the phone. This is 2011, 2012. I remember it was a Dodge. I don't think anyone here from Stellantis, so I can tell them that it was a Dodge we picked because it was the most open vehicle environment. You could basically hack a Dodge. You couldn't hack any other brand, we could hack a Dodge. And with this app, we figured out that we could do a remote door unlock and try to get towards the unattended lot. I learned a lot over the years working in the industry, Avis and Hertz, and trying to figure out this unattended lot problem, trying to solve fuel tank level, the automate fuel tank level. I know what a ready line is. I'm fascinated by the industry, and the industry is going to evolve. And I'm excited to be in this seat as an entrepreneur, telematics guy, data guy, owner now of Bobbitt Business Media, because Bobbitt owns at least 3 assets. They're kind of connected. And I see some dots that I think we can connect even better. One of them was 3 weeks ago at the vehicle remarketing conference that we had. And of course, the car rental industry, they turn vehicles over, and we're trying to advocate on behalf of the residual value of that vehicle and trying to educate, in our case, the fleet industry, for that particular association that we just created, Fleet Marketing Industry Council, soon to become the Fleet Marketing Association, to educate the fleet buyer on what is residual value, how can you impact it. Don't outsource the responsibility of residual value to your leasing company. Try to educate yourself. Let's preserve the value of these vehicles. It's really important to me that we do that. So our vehicle remarketing magazine and this association you're creating in the car event, the Conference of Automotive Remarketing, is really important. There is a dovetail there for sure. At the same time, we have our Agent Summit that also wrapped up 3 weeks ago, which is a super interesting conference. That is all about the auto dealer industry, the finance, the insurance, the agents, and the entire world that revolves around us. So Bobbitt Business Media, for those of you know us, you probably know us from Auto Rental News, but it's a fascinating business. Car rental, fleet, government fleet. And this Saturday I'm going to Austin, Texas to our beauty show because we have the largest readership in the hair salon and the beauty industry. With Modern Salon and Salon Today magazine with 1.1 million followers on Instagram, I'm learning everything there is to know about that industry. I think it's really fascinating. But what I'm really excited about is 2026. This is a really exciting, I've been excited about 2026 since 2018. And in 2018, I was a volunteer board member with AutoCare, on the technology committee with AutoCare. If you know AutoCare, their association represents the independent garage. And they said there's 500,000 independent garages in 2018, and by the year 2033, there's going to be 1/3 less. And unless we deal with right to repair and data access, we're out of business. We're not going to have this industry, which is vital and creates a lot of jobs. It's a very important industry. So I was the telematics guy. Helped AutoCare try to figure out what the data was, the importance of data, could we get data standards. And I think even today, a lot of what you in this industry are trying to think about is how can we go and advocate, again, for continued access to data. So this is something that's really at the heart of me and what I like to talk about a lot. But what was also interesting in 2018 was that we had a conference at my previous employer with a keynote speaker by the name of Tony Siva. So Tony Siva is a Silicon Valley guy, bit of a futurist. And in 2018, he said the year 2026 is peak personal car ownership year. The peak year when people will want to own their own car, and then it declines rapidly until the year 2030, when only 10% of us want to own a car. And I thought that was really interesting. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for peak car ownership year. Because the concept was autonomous and EV is going to be coming on board. So it's going to be electrification. These vehicles are going to be driving themselves around. They're going to be rechargeable. But the most important thing is it's going to be so freaking expensive to own a car in the year 2026, 27, 28. You're not going to want to own it. Because it's sitting in your driveway depreciating. Rent it. Find another way to get the car. And that's why I was really, really excited about this year. And I think we're kind of there. Now, I don't think it's going to be peak ownership. Maybe we're a little bit delayed on some of those other features. But I don't think it's too far behind. And the interesting and exciting thing for me is the pie is about to expand. And there's not many industries in the car rental industry, or if you're talking about ride-hailing apps and the taxi cab industry, there's not many industries that you can say are about to expand the pie, the total addressable market. And I truly believe the total addressable market for this industry is about to expand and expand dramatically. Because it's too expensive to own a car. Gas, insurance, and when you wake up and you realize that asset that I own in my driveway is just a bill. And you also realize that the 21 and 22-year-olds really don't have a passion like I did when I was 16. I got my driver's license by learners when I was 15, and 16 years old in one day, I got my driver's license. I was excited about it. Not today's younger generation. They're not as excited about car ownership. We need them as an industry. You still want to drive because you can't rent a car unless you've got a driver's license. We still need people who want to drive. But I think there's an advocacy here, and ACRA, I love you and thank you for supporting this event so much. I think there's advocacy here that we can work on together. Try to figure out the marketing message to get to that 1996-year-old generation and younger, the 20-year-olds, maybe early 30-year-olds, to get them excited about the options to rent a car and get it every week and rent a brand new make and model. How exciting is that? And you only need to use it when you need to use it. You don't pay for something you're not using all the time. I think it's exciting, and I really just believe the pie is expanding, and I'm excited about this event this year. Listening to the sessions and being an active participant in the sessions. I'm super geeky on event floors, so thank you for all of our exhibitors and sponsors for sponsoring this event. You will see me that on the event floor tomorrow and on Friday. I love it. I'm going to come see you and talk to you and teach me all kinds of things about what you're doing. I've already met with some of you, and thank you so much, Martin. Thank you so much for having me up here today, and everybody have a great ICRS 2026. Thank you.
So comedian and actor Eric Hunter has appeared on TV shows, the Comedy Time Network, live comedy stages, short films, commercials, and events, along with a long roster of comedians. He's also performed at the Comedy and Magic Club in Hermosa Beach, California, where Jay Leno and Jerry Seinfeld often tried out their jokes. So if you don't laugh tonight, it's your problem. You'll just have to sit there and tickle each other. It's time he speaks for himself. Please welcome Eric Hunter.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Eric Hunter.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Please have a seat. That was an amazing welcome. Thank you all for that rousing standing ovation. Oh, I can't believe the time is finally here. Ladies and gentlemen, the last woman in that video was my neighbor. That's right. And all of that in that video, that was one typical day of Hertz rental returns. That's a true story, Table Bosch. That's a true story. A good thing we have AI damage assessment. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? There we go. All right. My name is Eric. I am so excited to be here. You know, I don't know if you know this, but I've performed at many rental association meetings all across the world. You know, hotel rental. I've done hotel rentals. I've done Hearst rentals. I've done their shows. I've done you name it, any kind of rental. And this, the International Car Rental Show, American Car Rental Association, the #1 best, most fun, funniest, most lively, excitable audience of all the rental groups in the entire country. All right, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was wrong about that. You folks, you're all acting seriously. You're all acting like Joni was abducted. Has she passed away? Is that what it is? I feel like there should be flowers up there. She's gone missing, and we need to find her. Right, First Source. God love you guys. I am so happy to be here. This is so exciting for me. This is the kind of the pinnacle of my career. I'm truly honored to be here to help you relive, laugh at, have fun with some of the memorable, funny, exciting, life-changing moments of renting cars to complete strangers. That is your job. You take your beauties, the love of your life, your fleet, and you turn them over to complete strangers who have already crashed their cars, wrecked them, had them set on fire, have lost their cars, have driven them over curbs repeatedly, and now could potentially do the same thing to yours. You folks are so brave. I got to hand it to you. And you're entrepreneurs, you're successful business people. I'm jealous. I am jealous of you, but I am excited to see people from all over the world come to this. Isn't this great? Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, Christopher. Thank you, man. Thank you for the clap. Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. That we get people from foreign countries. We got people from Croatia here. Where's Croatia? Okay, they didn't make it. Apparently they didn't make it. The connecting flight was on Spirit. And so I guess they didn't no one here from Croatia. All right, that's fine. How about, we get people from faraway lands like Sweden. Where's Sweden? Sweden, hey! Isn't that how you say hello in Sweden? Hey, we had that first. You guys stole that from us. You understand that, right? It is so good to see Sweden. And they have a question. Yes? Oh, okay. All right. Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about history, I'll be honest with you folks. But thank you for coming back, I guess, is what... They were here first and they've returned tonight. So that is very exciting. People from Brazil, it's just so much. Hola, Brazil. Where's Hola? Hola, Brazil. Right there is Brazil. Again, one of the more exuberant, fun bunches. Did one of these right here, so that'll do. People from countries and faraway lands who speak foreign languages and strange languages like Germany and Alabama. They are here. They are here tonight to celebrate with us. Is there anyone here from Germany? Guten Abend, Germany. Right here, one guy from Germany. Guten Abend. What part of Germany are you from? Stuttgart. Yes. Ja. Wie geht's? Ja, ich bin sehr gut. Ja, ich bin sehr famous in America. Ich bin sehr famous here in America. Tell everyone back in Deutschland that you saw Eric Hunter. I'm sort of a David Hasselhoff of the modern age of comedy. So thank you for making it here tonight. I'll tell you folks how I got this job. This was very exciting for me. My agent called me. He called me and I said, hey, this is Eric. And he goes, hey, I think I have a job for you. I think I got a gig for you. It's in Texas. I go, oh, Dallas? He goes, no, Grapevine. All right, fine. Grapevine. That'll do. And I said, who's it for? He goes, it's a group of people who rent cars. A group of people who rent cars. And I go, oh, so like a lot of people who can't afford their own cars, so they rent cars? And he goes, no, they actually, they're the business owners. They rent the cars to the losers. And I go, hey, national? He goes, no, international car rental show. I go, oh, okay, well, that's a big deal. Will I get paid? He goes, no, but you'll get a free double upgrade. And I go, not to a minivan, right? Not to a minivan. He goes, no, I got a minivan, I'm not going to do it. He goes, all right, no, you can do free. Unlimited miles? He goes, yeah, unlimited miles, but just in your neighborhood. I said, all right, well, there'll be, I have some demands, as you know, on the stage. There's got to be like a group of fake ferns. He goes, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that's fine. We can do that. I go, will there be a picture of a woman up on stage the entire show? And we don't know her whereabouts? He goes, yeah, we can do that. We can do that. I say, will First Source Bank be there? He goes, yeah, they'll be there. First Source Bank will be there. Service Up, will Service Up be there? Oh, hey, look at that. I heard something in the back there. Is that Service Up? All right. Way to go, baby. Is that what she said? Is that, will Germany be there? And he goes, there'll be one guy. There'll be one guy representing the entire Commonwealth of Germany. I go, okay, all right. Will there be a lot of boring speakers before me? He goes, yeah, oh yeah. They're going to put everyone to sleep. You got your... It'll be a weird car video. He goes, yeah, we can do a weird car video. Going into each other. Okay, that's me. I'm on board. So here I am, and so that's why I am here tonight. And I'm so excited that all of you made it. Did you have reservations for tonight? Did everyone make reservations for tonight? And they kept them. See? That's what happens when you keep a reservation. That's it. Why do I feel like I'm going to have to explain a lot of these? Come on, folks. It's the International Car Rental Show. So, oh, man. 30 years we've been doing this. 30 years. That to me is amazing. Remember 30 years ago? 30 years ago, things were so much different. Remember the mobile phone? 30 years ago, it was that landline in your kitchen that had that long 2-mile cord that you would just walk around the house going, hey, Katie. Yeah, how you doing? Hey, Katie. Yeah, this is me. Yeah, how are you? Remember that? How about this? 30 years ago, I didn't rent cars. I had my first, I call it my comedy car. My very first comedy car 30 years ago, driving around this wonderful country, a Delta 88 Oldsmobile, 1980. Anyone familiar with this? It started out as a 4-door, then it became a 3-door, and then eventually a 2-door. All right, that's an old door falling off joke. Come on, Bosh, I need you guys here, okay? You're right in the spotlight, and everyone's looking at you, except these two who are in love right here. These two are in love. So, ignore them. Don't look over at you guys. Come on, soft black. You know what I'm talking about, right? You guys are... I love this table right here. This is probably the most fun table here. We're not here for the thing. We're just here to meet women. Way to go, guys. We're gonna meet somebody tonight. I'm single. I know what you're going through right here. I've seen. Anyone married? How about that? Happily married. Make some noise. A round of applause. Are they still doing that anymore? Wow, that's a lot of you. That's too many. How about round of applause? How many of you are dating? Single folks? Come on the trip here. This is single in the back there. Anyone? Round of applause. How many of you are dating but you're afraid to clap because your spouse is here tonight? Nobody. All right. How about this? Seems like a fun table. Zuby. Zuby. That's a wonderful. Is that an app? Is that tracking vehicles? Okay, yeah, that's right. I remember. I went on to your. This is what happened one time. I couldn't sleep. I was thinking about the show, all excited about the show. And I went online. I go, I'm going to look up some of the people that are going to be there. So that's I went to zuby.com, and it worked. I fell asleep immediately, and I was able to get to sleep. This is I love Zuby sense. And you guys, you'll track vehicles. Is that what you do? Good for you guys. Service Up is here. Service Up is in the back. They bought me drinks. They bought me a lot of drinks, which is weird because it's an open bar. But the point of all of this is that you all are here gathered to have fun and drink a lot. If anyone has too much to drink tonight, let me explain something to you. I'm Irish, and I should be drinking. Do we have Irish folks out here tonight? A lot of Irish folks. Just right down here, Irish. Are you actually from Ireland? Good for you. Do you have family from Ireland? You're Irish? No. I looked for a Source Bank too, by the way. I got a job, right out of college, I got a job at Second Source Bank. And they went under, and so they transferred me to Third Source Bank, and then they went under, and finally it backed down to just First Source Bank, which I love because I don't know if you probably don't know this, you don't know anything about me. I went to college in South Bend, Indiana, where First Source Bank. I went to University of Notre Dame, and Chris, yeah, Irish, exactly, yeah. Tell him that because he's Irish. Did you know that? I played some sport. I played football at Notre Dame. I know you're looking at me like, no, you probably walked on, right? I was a walk. I had to. I couldn't run. I was very slow, so I walked on. And what is also quite exciting about this is this gentleman right here also played football. You played football. Stand up, sir. Let everyone see. This guy's an amazing athlete. He played football. He played wide receiver at Eastern Michigan State College. It was junior college, and we had them on the schedule as we do every year at Notre Dame. And Brett played wide receiver, right? Remember Brett? Yes, Brett played wide receiver at Eastern Michigan, and I was ninth on the depth chart at cornerback. I was a defensive back. I was ninth on the depth chart, and the 8 guys in front of me sinned, so they couldn't play. On this particular Saturday that we were facing, the one and only, he's an All-American, All-MAC, Big Ten Conference Player of the Year, and I knew that. He was a senior, and I was a 9th-year senior. And Brett, I held Brett. You guys don't know this, so listen up. I held Brett to 27 catches in one game. You guys are a lot like big football fans, aren't you? You guys, you're clapping. Way to go, Eric. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I get back to this car driving around the country thing because I had a lousy car and I had a hard time driving. Remember 30 years ago? No GPS, right, folks? No GPS back then. No MapQuest. No Google Maps. I'm driving around with no way to know where I'm going. I didn't have a wife, so I didn't have anyone to tell me and help me find directions to where I'm going. All we had was the map. We could ask for directions. So I pulled up next to this idiot at a red light, and I was down here in Dallas, and I was trying to find Route 66, a very famous Route 66. Who from Texas knows Route 66? Have you guys driven on Route 66? All across the country. And I couldn't find it. I was down here and I was trying to get up north to 66. So I drove up next to some idiot at a red light. Rolled down my window. Just trying to get some directions. Then had the GPS table for it. Red light, I didn't have the white. So I'm trying to get directions up to 66. I go, excuse me, sir. Can you help me out here? Can you tell me, how do I get up to 66? He goes, man, gun it, I guess. What's that? That's Germany? That's Southern for accelerate. Oh, he left. Okay. Yeah, lousy cars, man. Gas prices are killing me now. Driving around this country, trying to afford gas. And it was bad back then, too. I'm here to tell you, you know about it. Gas prices were so expensive. I was in a gas station. This was back in the early zeros when gas was really expensive. I was in this gas station. The guy comes in, he goes, hey, can I get $1 on pump 7? I go, $1 on pump 7? Where are you going? He goes, pump 8? Yeah, that about makes sense right there. That really does. And I had a lousy car. I had problems with my turn signal. I pulled into this mechanic, and I go, excuse me, Cooter, could you come in for a second? I go, can you do me a favor? Can you hop behind my car? I'm having problems with my blinker. Will you tell me, when I turn on my turn signal, will you tell me if my turn signal's working? So he gets back there and he goes, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah. No. Let's go. We need everybody. The people in the back, thank you. I got a bad back. Yeah, no. Are you? Thank you very much. Yes, that's. You can clap. That's fine. That'll edit that in. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, you guys are wonderful. You really are. Sharky, where's Sharky? Sharky. Where's Sharky at? Is Sharky still here? No, he's not. He left. I'm in the bathroom again. He's in there like 9 times before the show. All right, I'll wait for him to come back. Sharky was a punk rocker a long time ago. Punk rocker. You like punk rock? Give me one of them. I was in a band as well. And we actually used to open. We'd go on tour with Sharky and his band. We were a country band. I said, we were a country band. A lot of Texas folks here.
Yee.
Do they have country music in Brazil? Country music in Croatia? We're not here. I was in a country band. It was an all-male. There's Sharky right there, man. What do you do? What are you just sitting there for? You know, as a performer, audience participation is always welcome. I haven't seen you in forever. We used to tour. Remember that? Remember that tour we did? It was the Pizza Hut tour up through Oregon. And we opened, remember, we were great. We were an all-male country band. We were called the Dixie Dicks. And remember? Our name was too controversial, though. Remember that? Too much controversy with our name, so we had to change the name. We had to drop one of the words because it was, so we were just known as the Dicks, and it was D-I-X, I think. So, well, drink up. That's what Sharky's message is for tonight. Drink up, folks.
Smoke detection, windshield damage. Zuby does it all. And all of that data flows straight into TSD, giving retail operators a smarter, sharper operation. Zuby, more data, more insights, all in motion.
So a special thank you to Janine for sponsoring this session. This is kind of also one of the anchors of this event. Every year we like to give people the macroeconomic view of travel markets, global markets, and then boil it down how it applies to rental fleet. And there's no one better equipped to do this than John Healy from North Coast Research. So he's got a lot of slides and a lot of good numbers for you, so I will let him get right to it. All right, bear with me for a minute. I want to observe, I want to decide, and I want to act. I think that invites to the previous lesson a little bit. So that was a great comment, and I also thought the encouragement that we don't have to be the smartest, we don't have to be the most handsome, and I'm testing with that. So, no, it's great to be with you guys, today. I'm John Healy from North Coast Research. I've been watching and observing your industry for about 16, 17 years, and I've been very fortunate to have learned a lot by watching many people in this room operate businesses, by analyzing the public companies and how they operate. And today's goal is to give you my perspective of what we're seeing from an economic standpoint, what we're seeing from the publicly traded companies, and what we're seeing from what I would say the food chain of the auto industry, the travel industry, and how that may or may not impact your business. My hope today is to run through maybe the 25 slides or so that I have to hit on some topics that I think are relevant. And then at the end of the presentation, I think Mark and I will do a little bit of Q&A, and happy to take questions from any of you in the audience. And I'd love this to be more your session than my session, so feel free to ask anything that you like, and I will give you the best answer that I can. Always the tough part. Hey Mark, I'll do the slides real quick and through. So while we do that, I will give you a minute just to understand who North Coast Research is. So North Coast Research is an institutional investment firm, and what we do is analyze companies or hedge funds, mutual funds, private equity funds, venture capital funds, and financial institutions. So my responsibility is to look at all things automotive for us. I write research on things like companies like Hertz, companies like Davis, companies like CarMax, companies like Carvana, companies that are all around your ecosystem. So if you're interested in our research, I'm happy to share it with you as well. Just to start the year again, down 10% recently. We should be in a decent spot to weather what I would call stable, steady, okay. What will we see in the later this year? I guess maybe not. At a high level, my takeaways are: we think your industry is in a pretty good spot to start the year. I think there's some back half questions, and I really need this environment to be extremely aggressive with expansion. Our cost have risk situation regarding the off-airport business and fleet that may have to be allocated to the airport business is something to monitor. And I guess I'll leave it at that. Mark, if there's any questions.
Over there, so it's just put on the
Kind of overweight.
And then in the mid-20th century went digital from atoms to bits. And now we find ourselves in what we call the fifth industrial revolution. We are roughly 10 years into a century-long cycle. Isn't that exciting? A little scary though, isn't it? But most people are calling this industrial revolution the what revolution? The AI revolution. That's what you hear day in, day out. But really what we're in right now is this several areas of mini revolutions happening right now where it's AI, robotics, renewable energy, biotech. And this tech convergence is seen as a major driver for the next industrial wave that we find ourselves in, which is going to accelerate solutions for transportation, quality of life, healthcare, climate, and energy challenges. So this is a really exciting time that we find ourselves in. Now, I'm going to do a switch and I'm going to talk about the case study of Uber. The disruption that we all experienced when Uber came to the scene. Not to spend a lot of time here, but just a quick recap on Uber's history. In 2009, it was founded by two founders. They had the idea in 2008 when they got tired of waiting for a taxi in their city, in San Francisco. And it was raining, and they were like, this has to change. So in 2012, Uber X was introduced. In 2013, Google infused $238 million into Uber, and their valuation grew to $4 billion in 2013. In 2014, they started operating in 100 cities. Many of us felt that pain, and their valuation grew to $50 billion at that point. And in 2015, Uber became a household name. Big, huge impact. So think about it. A company went from an idea in 2008 to a $50 billion valuation in 2014. That's huge. And everybody was impacted. Personally, our business, all modes of transportation, taxi companies, etc. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. Then you cannot ignore it. And let me tell you something else. Make sure you have your pocketbook with you too, because once you experience it, you're going to want to have it. You start getting spoiled by it. There's times now that I sit there and go, I really don't. My wife has a Tesla. I have a Ram 1500 without all that. And so a lot of times I'm like, can I just borrow your car because I don't feel like driving to go run my errands today. It's amazing. But that's level 3. Level 4 is where we find Waymo, where we have the cybercabs, not the cybercabs, but the robo-taxis, which is the Model Y specifically made with their best hardware, with their best equipment on it. Robo-taxis, they're operating at level 4.
This Nissan Versa cost me $17.74 a day to look at. I didn't rent it yet. I'm just looking at it, sitting on the parking lot. It's costing me $17.74 a day to look at it. And that's at 100% utilization. This is the part where it changes your whole thinking. You're not going to do 100% utilization. I don't care how good you are. If you're doing higher than 85% utilization, you're working too hard, and you're burning your people out, and you're just going to cycle your people out because you're running too high in utilization, okay? You're trying to cut it too close to the bone. And if you run much less than 75% utilization, you're expecting on not making any money. So there's a balance.
Pulling location, fuel, battery health, engine status, mileage, and so much more. But that's just the start. Zuby Sense, powered by Bosch, adds what no one else can. Impact detection, smoke detection, windshield damage. Zuby does it all. And all of that data flows straight into TSD, giving retail operators a smarter, sharper operation. Zuby, more data, more insights, all in motion.
And thank you to them, and welcome to our closing keynote, Race to the Bottom or Road to Recovery, Rethinking the Future of Car Rental. So we've heard a lot during this conference about all types of trends and developments from AI to mobility, pricing, different forms of technology, AI scams. And just as this is a 30th anniversary event, as we look to the years ahead, there are going to be a lot of pivots in this industry. Richard Loden, CEO and President of Green Motion and USAVE International, to kind of tie this all together and give us a sense of what the big choice is and where the industry is headed. So please welcome Richard Loden.
Okay, good afternoon everybody. First I think you should all give yourselves a round of applause for surviving this year's International Car Rental Show. So thank you. You are the serious hardcore warriors, so thank you for that. This is going to be short and sweet. The first promise I'm going to give you is I'm not going to try and sell you anything. This is an insightful keynote just to get our minds thinking about the many decades that we've spent in this industry. So first and foremost, I'm going to quickly move on and really sort of ask a very suggest a question to you, and that is, where am I actually from? And I'm sure you will realise from the accent that I'm not from the United States, I'm actually from the United Kingdom. And for all the people that don't know the size of the United Kingdom, it's a little bit bigger than you think it is, with a population of about 72 million currently in the country. But one of the questions I'm often asked is, do I know the King? So, would you like to know the answer to that? I'm not going to tell you. So, let's go a little bit of time travel now. I'm going to take you back. Okay, so now this is a test of your age and how much you can remember. So, 1991. Now, this date is significant for me, because that's when I joined the car rental industry. I was actually 21 years of age when that happened. So here's a few blasts from the past. You remember we had Blockbuster Video, we had Kodak, Mr. Flick, we had Pan Am, and we also had Toys R Us. Now I believe Toys R Us is still available in some countries, but certainly the United Kingdom is still long gone. So that gives you an idea of how things have changed. Now when we look at car rental, there was actually 9 global car rental brands at that point. Just 9 of them. All of the names that you'll be familiar with there, many American and European names. Even Enterprise at that point was just here in the United States. It hadn't started its global journey at that point in time. So what does this all mean? Well, as I said, going back to 1991, I joined with Thrifty Car Rental in the United Kingdom, worked with them for a little while, and I created my first car rental brand, which was called Gaylord Resort. I was, as I said, at that point 23 years old, very wet behind the ears, but what I did have is fearless naivety, so I thought I could take the world on and really make a difference. And here I am today, so hopefully I have made a little bit of difference. So let's have a look at what things cost back in 1991. This is super relevant. So a tank of gasoline. If you look at the gallon, it was $1.14 back in 1991. Today, it's around $2.81. So in reality, it is literally more than double in price. And then, if we then move on to flights, what would a return ticket to from London to New York cost? Well, actually, back then it was $450. Now it's around $1,000. Once again, we've got a situation where flights have doubled in price. And then we'll move on to hotels. So a hotel, actually here in Texas, back then, 5-star hotel, we were around $200. What is it today? It's nearer $650. So as you can see, once again, we've got a situation where we're seeing a trebling in price. All of these are associated with travel products. So we've got flights, we've got hotels, we've got fuel, all of them have increased in price over that period. So what about the actual assets themselves, the cars? What makes us actually function as a business? Once again, back in 1991, a Volkswagen Golf was about $11,000. Today, that same vehicle is $35,000. So we're seeing, again, a trebling in price of the very assets that we require to make our business work. Expectation, as I said, over time, the expectation is that things will go up in cost. So let's take a look at car rental. Have we enjoyed that same increase in costs? I'm going to take you over to Miami. And if you were renting a mid-sized car at Miami Airport back in 1991, you would have got, before taxes and fees, and many people in this room may remember this, around $20 a day. However, today, the same size car is averaging at $6.66. So if you look at that just in terms of the context, everything else associated to travel, literally everything, has gone up, with the exception of car rental. We've gone the other way. So, why have we found ourselves in a situation where renting a vehicle is typically half the value it was 3 decades ago? Something has definitely gone wrong. So, as I said, fuel up in price, planes up in price, hotels up in price, the acquisition of cars are up in price. And what I want to really sort of summarise here is an understanding of why we're facing the difficulties we are as an industry. Now, often you've heard this term, race to the bottom. And this is something that we as an industry have become guilty of doing. And that's not just the independent operators in this room, the franchise, the affiliations, but also the major brands in some shape or form are all participating in this race to the bottom. And unfortunately, there's no winners. There literally isn't. The customer certainly doesn't win, the operator doesn't win, and nor does the global marketplace either. So what's creating this environment? Well, firstly, the industry itself has got a relatively low barrier to entry. So we're not a legislative organisation where you have to be licensed to actually operate. Some years ago that was something in certain countries. But now pretty much if you've got 1, 2 or 3 cars, you can claim you are a car rental business. That's a problem. The second issue is fleet. So back in 1991, fleet has always played a major part with rental and partnered with rental. But there was a certain number of manufacturers, there was a certain capacity available to us. If you were here last year, you were reading a keynote on the Chinese OEMs, and the question very much was, were the Chinese OEMs coming? Although they've actually arrived, maybe not here in the United States, but if you're from any other country around the world, they really have arrived. And to put that in perspective, we're now dealing with over 100 OEMs. In terms of brands that sit behind them, there's over 200 brands now available in the marketplace. So we're now facing a fairly difficult situation with easy access to fleet, but now you've got a quantum of fleet that's easy to access. And then we've got ourselves. Too many car rental brands. And we're one of them. In fact, we're 2 of them on the stage today. But there was way too many car rental brands out there. Too much choice and too much saturation. And then finally, we've got a situation where how car rental is distributed. As you can see from the screen there, they're not all there, but we ourselves, at Green Motion Newspaper, have actually connected to over 100 aggregators and price comparison engines and marketplace sites. Over 100. And they're all competing themselves in the same space that we've got there. And then back to the actual car rental brands, as I said, there is so many out there. And this is what we started with back in 1961, so 1971, and now you see them just flooding in. Brands that you've never heard of, names that you've never heard of, keep appearing in our industry. So, just to summarise that, we've got too many cars, too many brands, too much distribution. The market is completely oversaturated. So, is there a way forward? How can we actually deal with this? So, one of the things that we have to really better understand is that when we as an industry buy too many cars, one would assume that you realise that you can't park them. It's expensive to park cars. So then we work on the premise that we need to rent them out because we don't want to park them. And then you realise that you've got too many cars in your particular marketplace. So can we actually deal with this? What is the road to recovery that's going to help us as an industry lift ourselves out? It's very easy for me to say this, but buying less is a way to start. We've seen over the last few days, while we've been at the International Car Rental Show, there are even more opportunities to buy vehicles. And that, certainly outside the United States, is even more prevalent. So I think that we need to understand that actually this number of cars isn't the road to success. It's the type of car, the relevance of the car in the market. In terms of the rates, can any of us genuinely say with our hand on our heart that we can $1 a day and make money? It's impossible. It literally is impossible to do that. In most cases, the holding cost of your car is in excess of $5. The insurance cost of insuring that vehicle is in excess of $5. And I'm pretty confident your staff are in excess of $5. So we're already up to $15 to keep that vehicle or get that vehicle on the road. However, if you go onto Expedia or Priceline, Booking.com, you're going to see rates sub $5 there. It's insanity. So, if we can actually drop utilisation, drop the number of vehicles on fleet, the actual pool of vehicles, you can actually see it in an uplift in rates. Now, it's very difficult for all of us doing this together or doing this in isolation, but it is possible. And a lot of it is about understanding your own market, which I'll cover later on. In terms of the market, do you actually know your market? Now, I've used Miami as an example deliberately. And Miami is the single most congested car rental market here in the United States. I won't throw this question out, but if you hazard a guess how many operators are actually in Miami, how many brands, what's the choice there? There's over 100 brands listed online in the Miami market. And the Miami market is not great. It's not exponentially exploding to justify 100 brands. So you've got people coming in, and I've met them over the last 2 days. I want to open in Fort Lauderdale, I want to open in Houston, I want to open here. Why? America's a big place. Okay? Why are we all trying to open in Miami? Why do you think it's okay to try and operate at $3, $4, $5 a day? Because what's happening is the customer is suffering. That's ultimately, and that customer suffering is damaging the market. We've been trying over these years to be creative of how we upsell at the counter, how we generate more revenue. Well, if the revenue is at $2 a day, it doesn't really matter what you sell at the counter, it's still not going to do enough. So once again, it's sensible. If you look at the market, if there's 100 operators there, guess what? You don't need 101. You really don't. Find somewhere else offering a different type of business model in those operations, other than this one coming to destination. So, don't chase unprofitable numbers. If it doesn't make money, don't do it. That's a really simple thing. I'm shocked how many organisations don't follow this. Oh, let's put another 20 cars in the market. What 20 cars? Well, the 20 cars are being offered. So you're dictating what you're going to sell in your market by what an OEM or a leasing company is offering you that point in time. You've no idea whether there's demand for that vehicle or not. Or if that particular group is over congested. So stop the panic buying the fleet and don't look at these short-term plans. Have an actual plan once again. I've had lots and lots of conversations over the last 2 days, and one of the questions I often ask is, what's the plan? You've got 5 cars, you've got 10, you've got 20, you've got 100. Where are you going with this? What is the objective? What do you want from your commercial business? And you're amazed how few actually have a plan. They're just trading for today and tomorrow. So, as I say, market size does matter, but you've got to understand your market. Please take a look at what it is, take a look at what fleet is relevant for your market, and whether it can be sustained. That's a really great place to start, because actually being a little bit smaller, having that more boutique approach, could actually change your operational life in your given market. Multiple brands, another subject close to my heart. As I said, in Miami we've got over 100 brands. Brands is probably a bit of a stretch, 100 operators in that market. And what we're doing is the customer doesn't understand. There's no brand values anymore. They don't understand what each brand gives them, whatever extra elements you might get out of it. So your problem with that is that once again damages the marketplace because the trust is gone. You've got a situation where customers no longer trust, and they're being educated by the press and by many other organisations that when they arrive at the rental counter, they're ready to fight you. So that's not a great place to work either. So not only is the customer having a bad experience, your staff are having a bad experience. So this whole idea that more brands, and there are some operators in the market that have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 brands at their disposal, and they end up cannibalising themselves, competing with themselves. And there's actually a big, wide market out there. There are customers that are at the top end that genuinely are not buying on price, they're buying on convenience, they're buying on service, they're buying on the product you're renting. Once again, super, super important. Don't literally think, okay, I need to get all of these brands positioned on the aggregators or the price comparison site. That's how I win. Well, no, because your 10 brands are all sitting under $10 a day. You've got one brand doing $1 a day, another one that's doing $2 a day, you've got none that are doing $50, $60 a day. So it's far better to focus on which brands you're going to do, avoid brand saturation, and really invest in that brand, which is really, really important, and do it well. When you're in your business, you've opened in the morning, focus on actually delivering a great level of service. It's something that many of the operators across the world have forgotten to do because they're focused on utilisation. Get this car out. Yes, we all have to get the cars out. Yes, we need utilisation, but it shouldn't be at all costs, and it should never be at the cost of the customer. Because if they don't come back to you, and ultimately they might not come back to the industry. So, kill the noise about the need to drive. Fewer brands does genuinely work, but make these brands be valuable. So if you own a brand in this room, care about that brand and make sure that it means something in your local marketplace. Back to the channels. So as I said, there's over 100 that we're connected to, and there are more, believe it or not. But when we actually look at this and we go back in time, and once again the data is very poignant. So why was it so different in 1991? Well, there was no internet. Believe it or not, in 1991, when I joined the car rental industry, there was no internet. And if there was no internet, you're in a situation where there was no online sales. So there was no Priceline, there was no Expedia. They literally did not exist back in 1991. The way that we worked as a business is, at an airport, you would have a car rental desk, and you would bid for that positioning, so when people came off the flight, they would literally go and negotiate at the desk. Or they would book to a travel agency through the GBS system that you would know pretty well. So that was essentially how car rental was distributed. Those patterns still exist. Desks in many airports, often in contact centres now, but they're still there. You can still walk up to them, you can still have cars. You can still book through your local travel agent, and there's certain markets around the world that are still actually having to do that. Those are biased in terms of the way of booking. But on top of that, you've now got all of the global aggregators. So in the last 30 years, we've gone from 5, 6 routes to market to hundreds of routes to market. And all of those aggregators, they themselves are competing with each other. So unfortunately, while we're at the supply end, at the demand end, you've got a war, a major war is happening. So essentially, when we look at distribution, it's broken. It's literally broken. So once again, what do we do about that? How do we manage our way through? Well, the bigger aggregators, names like Expedia, names like Priceline, they've realised now their cost of acquisition to the customer, typically through Google or through their certainly sub $10 a day, if not lower, you're creating a situation where there has to be conflict and friction with that customer. So, if they know it and they don't want us to do it, then don't just go. It's a very, very simple situation. So, the time for change is here. We have to do it as an industry, because if we don't, we literally will implode. And it's very important that we, as a group, as an industry together, if we are distributing at airports, and this is our marketplace, ultimately it's down to us to police that and be careful. So I just want to highlight on a few elements of how we can sort of drive that recovery. So as I said, number one is market research. Is there space in your marketplace that will allow you to prosper as a car rental business? How many competitors are on there? How many vehicles do you think are available in that marketplace? What does the demand actually look like? Where is it coming from? Is there opportunity for that demand to grow? Once again, 2 days here, very few people I've had a conversation with have given this subject any thought at all. It's all open here, and I'm going to have 50 cars. Why are you going to have 50 cars? Is that because your P&L says that's going to work for you? Have you chosen the 50 cars? Can you get the 50 cars? Not even listening. The naivety is staggering. Do the market research. Going back to brands, once again, super important. Multiple brands does not mean multiple success. It really, really doesn't. Choose your brand carefully. Choose them for the reasons that you need those brands to support you. There's lots and lots of many reasons, lots of great brands out there. But choose the one that you want and you want to support in your market. And that they've got the right connections, they've got the right distribution, the right support, the right systems. Look at it properly. Don't just go, okay, well they're going to connect into Expedia, they're going to connect into Priceline. Not really. They might give you a connection, it doesn't mean you're out of business. It genuinely doesn't. So think about how those connections work, ask the questions. And so please, this is really, really key. Less is actually more. Choose the right fleet in your market. Look where the gaps are, look where the niches are in your marketplace. Absolutely critical. Once again, I've met a lot of car rental companies. Their fleet choice is based on what's been supplied to them by the fleet provider. I've got 20 Nissan Versas available. Do you want them? Yes, I'll take them. But hang on, the market for the 20 Nissan Versas. Excuse me. Have they sold 2,000 Nissan Versas to somebody else down the road? Have you asked that question? Do you know that? Have you driven around your competitors and actually looked what they've actually got to offer? Probably not. And then define your offering. What makes you different from the other operators in the room? What really does make you stand out? How have you defined your product offering to make sure you have something that is of value for the marketplace that's coming to your location? And it's that diverse offering is very important. And finally, when we look at these distribution routes, as I said, we've got over 100 aggregators currently. Here in the US, it's very biased towards Priceline and Expedia. They're about 70% of the traffic, and that's a legacy thing for this particular market. But you've got a lot of people competing on those very narrow shop windows. So think about distribution. The problem with the aggregators is it's amazing at one end, really easy. You put a rate in, if the rate works in the market, you get a booking. Well, that was a lot of hard work, wasn't it? And as you saw from the talk earlier, you've got the likes of Rate Highway, Rate Gain, RevAI, all doing this automated pricing for us. It's becoming even less labour intensive. But all once you do is racing to the bottom. We're not thinking about what we're offering as an industry. And think about, actually, there is opportunity outside all the aggregators. The great and important are doing an amazing job for us, but they shouldn't be doing all of the heavy lifting. You should have alternative markets that you can tap into in your area. Yes, it takes effort. Yes, you're going to have to roll your sleeves up and do some actual hard work and not play with some buttons on the computer. Sorry, but that's the way it works. You're going to have to do some door knocking, you have to do some relationship building. But it's doable. And it's there. It literally is there. But many of us, unfortunately, don't do that. So ultimately, I'm coming to the end now. there is something we can do. We can lead the change, but we have to actively make this decision to change the behaviour, and not race this industry to the bottom. And before I go, so do I know the King? Of course I know the King. Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
So we're now going to open it up to audience questions sponsored by First Choice Bank. Chris Kraft will be manning the microphone, so I certainly encourage you to ask some questions. Anything you want to know.
Microphone 3 is activated. The first question.
So looking at our market, we're seeing a lot of new entries like you're talking about coming to the market. Fleets readily available. Do you see something, do we need like a recession or something to see contraction? I know the rental car industry has gone through expansion and contraction. Are we at that point where we're going to see people start buying other brands consolidating, or what's your path on that?
It's a super interesting question. Recession tends not to be industry specific, but as I said, the problem we have right now is there is a major shift in OEM behaviour. So as I said, not overly focused here on the US market. There's still major restrictions on Chinese OEMs coming, which is right now for you guys is a good thing. But if you go south of the border and you drive into Mexico, you will see lots and lots of Chinese cars, makes and models you've never heard of. You go into the Central America, you'll see it again, you go to Brazil, you see it, and so on. So I think that the issue you're facing now isn't necessarily oversupply. Yes, fleet is a little bit easier to get hold of. Good fleet is actually tough to get hold of. So once again, you've got a situation where a lot of the small operators haven't got sufficient credit to buy a very strong balance sheet or good credit lines. So they're paying more for the cars, which makes it even more nonsensical when they're putting rates into the market. So I think that there will be a process where hopefully these operators will realise it's very difficult, if not impossible, to make money on those levels, and they'll think twice about doing it. And that's the saving grace. These cycles tend to relieve some of the pressure. There's no magic pill, I'm afraid. It's a case of you very much will have to make sure that you, as a business, are, as I said, differentiating yourself away from all the noise in the marketplace, and making sure that your product is one that the aggregators, if you're selling through the aggregator channels, want to list and will support. And as I said, a lot of these aggregators, a lot of the small rental operators that aren't able to deliver quality of service, they're sitting here, and there's this big wide world up here. And in that world, you've got the brands of Enterprise and National and Avis and Budget and Hertz and Six. They're all there, and they're all functioning pretty well. They're all recording pretty good profits. I mean, if you look at Six and you look at Enterprise, another year of record profits. The reason for that, and that's because they are actually not doing $2, $3, $4 a day business. They're doing $20, $50, $40 a day business. So it exists. So transition your business from there into there. That's essentially the journey that you want to go.
Sounds like it's kicking around on a Friday afternoon. This is actually a sizable crowd for a closing keynote. As you probably noticed, this is not Las Vegas, and we would very much like to hear from you. Your views on having this event in Vegas, having it in different cities. This was kind of an experiment. We are going back to the Paris, Las Vegas next year, May 4th through the 6th. It will be on a Tuesday through Thursday track, so you will have Friday as a travel day. And we also want to give a big thank you to all of our many sponsors, exhibitors, and supporters. And thanks to all of you attendees, speakers, and panelists who are enriching this event and
and helping it to endure for 30 years and well beyond. Have a safe trip home, and we'll see you next year.